Hello, everyone. Semi-retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. Today is November the 9th. That means I've been doing the carnivore diet for exactly 18 months. I have told bits and pieces of this story many times on this channel, and I've told this entire story on several interviews. But today I'm going to go over it again very quickly because this is the 18-month mark, and a lot of people are new to the channel and have never heard all of this before. So I'm going to go over it not nearly as in-depth as I do for interviews and things like that, but I am going to go over it all. For those of you new to the channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. It does mean an awful lot to me that you stopped by. While you're here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and hit the like button. Drop down in the comments and say hi, Bob. All of those things help me get the word out that it's never too late to change your life. For those of you returning to the channel, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. It does mean an awful lot that you choose to spend just a few moments of your day with me. But let's jump right on into this thing, how it's never too late to change your life. We have to turn the clock back to 1983 for just a moment. That's when I was discharged from the service because I had gout. The information that I was given by the Army doctor matched the information that I was given by a civilian doctor that I found right after I got out. And the gout diet that they gave me was basically lots of whole grains, fruits, vegetables. Do not eat meat. Definitely never eat any red meat. But you could have a palm-sized piece of chicken or fish a couple of times a week. But red meat and pork are very, as they have said, were very, very bad for gout. You should not ever eat those. Ever, not even a little bit. Now, over the course of the next 20 years plus, I knew I was gaining weight. I slowly gained weight over the course of time, but we knew as fact at that time that all you had to do was to lose weight was to eat more and move, or eat less and move more. While I could do the eat less for a little while, as we all know, diets that are restrictive fail because you can only eat less for so much time before you get hungry. But the move more thing was very difficult because every time I started a move more program, my gout would flare up and I'd be down for a week or two. So over the course of time, it just slowly got worse and worse for me. 30 years after that, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And the advice that the dietitian in my doctor's office gave me was what she called a carb control diet. Now that I know better, I don't understand how she gave me that information, but what she called carb control was the theory at that time was to have the same number of carbs every meal at about the same time every day so that your body was so-called ready for those carbs. And she had me eating between 60 and 75 carbs 3 times a day with my meals, and then 3 15-gram of carb snacks. And if you add all that up, that's between 225 and 250 grams of carbs a day, which is a lot of carbs. Not very good for a diabetic. Now, what made this promising was that it did actually work a little bit. My A1C when I was first diagnosed was 10.3. And then after the first 3 months of following her carb controlled diet, my A1C was like 9. So it had gotten a little better. And as time continued on, every time I went into the doctor's office, if it was above 7.5, he said, you probably need to watch that a little bit. And it might have even been above 8. But he'd always say, you need to watch that a little bit, try to do a little better. But of course, never offering any additional advice on how to watch it or do better. And then if it was below 8, he'd say, good job, keep it up. And if it was a 7.5, he'd say, really good job, keep it up. We now know that that's really poor advice. But I continued on and slowly getting heavier and heavier until just about 6 years ago now, I had a triple bypass surgery. And I did feel better after the triple bypass surgery, obviously, because my heart was getting blood again. And I went through the thing they call cardiac rehab, where you go in 3 days a week and exercise while they've got you hooked up to a heart monitor. They weren't very strenuous exercises, but somebody recovering from surgery, it was actually quite a bit. Part of the cardiac rehab, they had a dietitian training us on how to eat properly for heart healthy. And it was all basically the same stuff that I had gotten many times before. Lots of whole grains, lots of fruits and vegetables. Don't eat any meat. If you're going to eat meat, have just a palm-sized portion of chicken or fish a couple of days a week. And the big two differences in the heart-healthy diet, so to speak, was don't eat eggs because of the yolk. If you're going to have eggs, just have the egg whites. And try to limit your salt. And that's what they gave me. And I slowly was sinking further and further into bad health. The thing that kind of tipped it all was, what year was that? It was 2020 that I moved down to New Orleans to take care of my mom. What was supposed to be a go down and help her out from time to time situation turned into a 24/7 care situation. And there was a lot of stress eating involved in that. And at the end of 2020, that was in early 2020, at the end of 2020, she ended up in the hospital again, and we ended up moving her to an extended care facility in Ohio near my sister's house so that I didn't have to take care of her anymore. I spent the rest of that winter of 2020 to 2021 in my cargo trailer and went to North Carolina, spent the rest of the winter there. And then the following winter, 2021, I'm getting my years messed up here. But anyway, I was there the second year I was in North Carolina. It was about March, middle of March, 1st of April, somewhere in there. I was getting ready to come back to Omaha for the summer. I was sitting there in my cargo trailer, basically waiting to die. I didn't realize how bad my mental state had gotten at that time, but I was in one of the most beautiful places in the world, less than a half hour from the beach, and I never went to the beach because I didn't feel like going. So I was sitting in my cargo trailer watching this, YouTube, and I don't know exactly why. I actually do. I believe that God reached into the computer and said, this is the video you need to see, because I had always been a travel, tourism, photography, van life, camping, that kind of a consumer on YouTube. And there was this little video popped up on my homepage by Dante Ferrigno over at the Ferrigno Freedom Channel called 125 Days on the Lion Diet. I don't know what the heck the lion diet was, but I started watching the video and realized very early on, the reason I clicked on it was because he had a really good before and after picture on his thumbnail, which is why even today I still put before and after pictures on my thumbnails, because that's what drove me to clicking on a video And if it helps one other person click on one of my videos, then it was worth not being very creative with thumbnails. But I clicked on it and I started watching it, and it didn't take me very long to realize that his lion diet was just the very bottom, what I would call the most restrictive end of a ketogenic diet. And I'd heard of ketogenic diets. I'd heard of the Atkins diet. I actually read Atkins' book. But I can't do that kind of a diet because eating too much meat makes gout worse. That's what I knew as fact. I knew it as fact for 40 years. But because I'd watched his video, the next time I clicked onto the YouTube homepage, this country doctor from down in the middle of Tennessee by the name of Ken Berry popped up on my feed. I said, well, who's this guy? And I clicked on it. And because he talks very similar to the way I talk, he grew up in the same mountains, the same Appalachian Mountains that I did. I kind of clicked with him, saw eye to eye, sort of was, feeling the good vibes from his channel. And I watched a few of his videos and it's like, this is great. But again, I can't do this because I have gout. I did notice that night he had a live stream going on. So it must have been a Monday because he does his live streams on Monday. And I logged on and jumped into his live. I got there about 15 minutes early and there were already like 2,000 people there. And I'm thinking, gosh, I'm never going to get a question answered. But because I'd taken the time to be there, I went ahead and typed in my question. They said, I have gout. I cannot eat a lot of meat. Is there a version of this diet I can do with gout? And if I had known it was going to be this wildly successful, I would have written her name down. I know it was a girl's name. And at the time, his two moderators that were girls were Paola and Mitzi. So I don't know which one of them it was, but to whichever one of you it was, thank you very much. But they sent me back a message that said, Bob, meat does not cause gout. Dr. Berry has a couple of good videos on gout. You should go watch those. I'm like, what do you mean meat doesn't cause gout? Of course meat causes gout. I've known that as fact for 40 years. But I thought, well, what have I got to lose? So I went ahead and watched his first gout video. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense to me. That can't be right. So I watched his next gout video. And then I watched some more of his carnivore content. And the more I watched, the more I thought, maybe. Because at that time, I could barely stand for 2 to 2.5 minutes without severe pain. And I was taking a mountain of pain pills every day. I basically started this journey to try to get a little bit of pain relief. When I started the journey, I could pull up the private message that I sent him in Patreon. And it was something to the effect of, if I can get to the point where I can stand for 5 minutes at a time, I would consider this diet a huge win. Is that possible? And he sent me back several different things. We're not going to get into all that today. But, the main reason I started the carnivore diet was to try and get a little bit of pain relief. And now, as they say, the rest is history. I've gone so far beyond that. I wrote everything down here in front of me so that I don't forget anything. But again, as I said, I couldn't stand for 2 to 2.5 minutes without severe pain. Now I can basically stand and walk as far as I want. The farthest I know of for a fact that I've walked since I started this diet was I did do a 15-mile trail hike with a 20-pound backpack on my back. So I've gone way beyond that. When I first started, this was about all the fists I could make because my hands were just so locked up with arthritis. And now you can see they work just fine. So I would have to say that my arthritis pain is 98 to 99% better. I do still have the occasional twinge if I turn wrong. My spinal stenosis is also 98 to 99% better. I do still occasionally, when I first get up in the morning, have to stretch a little bit because my back hurts just a little bit when I get up in the morning. And if I turn too fast, I'll catch a little bit of pain off of that, but it doesn't happen very often. And even the little bit of pain I'm getting is nothing compared to like what I got before. Before starting the carnivore diet, I took 13 pills in the morning. I took 9 pills at night. Plus, I took pain pills. I took the maximum amount of Lyrica every day, and I augmented that with tramadol in between the Lyricas just to get by through a day. And today I take 0 prescription medications. I was on one last winter. When I got home this spring, I went and saw my cardiologist, and he took me off my blood thinner and said I did not need that anymore. So I'm now off all medications. According to my lab results, my diabetes is gone. My A1C has been checked twice at 4.8. I can't tell you for sure that my liver and kidney markers are both, I can't say they're better than they had been in decades, but I have records. I can look online and go back 5 years, and both my kidney and liver markers are better than they've been as far back as the records go, which is about a half a decade. So my fatty liver is gone. My chronic kidney disease is gone. The thing that started it all, my gout, I have not had a single gout attack in the entire time I've been on the carnivore diet. And as a side effect, I've lost 159 pounds. Once again, it's never too late to change your life. I now go to dance class once a week. I cut my own grass. I do all my own yard work. I go to the Y 4 days a week. I walk in chest deep water 2 days a week. I work out on the cable machine to strengthen my shoulders 2 days a week. I do push-ups. I do leg lifts. I do all kinds of stretching. I do squats. I'm definitely building muscle. For the first time in my life, I can actually feel that my body is strong, and my muscles that I can see are definitely much harder and bigger than they have ever been in my life, even back when I was in the Army. Of course, there's a lot more to it than that, but what it comes down to basically is eat the meat, add the salt, drink the water. That will get you 90 to 95% of where you want to go. And then after that, you might have to tweak a few things here and there. But eat the meat, add the salt, drink the water will get you where you want to go. I hope you enjoyed this complete telling of the story. I know we went a little long today, but that's there's just a lot to talk about when I do this type of video. But thank you for tuning in today. Again, don't forget to hit the like and to subscribe. Drop down and say hi, Bob, in the comments. Don't forget, get out there, be 1% better. Today, tomorrow, every day. Have a great day, folks. I'll see you in the next one.